Hello, I hope all is lovely. Looking at Art Deco today. What is Art Deco? Well, it's got a vintage feel to it, eh? Or like a retro feel to it, eh? Uh, I'd say it's a bit creepy to me. That's my opinion. It's a bit creepy, eh? No, you don't agree? Well, let me just give you some examples here. I have 35 photographs of Art Deco architecture, but let's begin here first by some words from the Wiki Penguins, eh? So what we have here, Art Deco, like Baroque, it's a style of visual arts, architecture, and product design. It lasted for a very short amount of time, maybe from like the 1920s, here 20s and 30s. They say it flourished in the States and in Europe during the 20s and 30s. It really was flourishing around the entire world, and I have proof and evidence of that. In these 35 photographs, we will visit every landmass of the known world: Australia, Asia, Africa, South America, North America, Europe, all of it. So let's see what they have to say here. They tell us that it can be anything from large structures, small objects, clothing, fashion, jewelry, bridges, buildings, skyscrapers, and cinemas. Which we'll look at these three: the cinemas, the skyscrapers, and the buildings. Ships, ocean liners, trains, cars, trucks, buses, furniture, everyday objects like radios, and vacuum cleaners, which we know were made of pretty high quality back in those days. They lasted a long time. They were efficient, they were simple, but smart designs, in my opinion. So Art Deco, it arrives, it makes its debut. Now they say it first appeared in 1910s in France, but it really made its debut 1925 here at the Industrial Arts and Modern Decorative Exposition in Paris. That's where it made its debut. Now, I have a theory here on this Art Deco. Now, Art Deco, when it refers to the architecture, is what gave birth to what we know now as Brutalist architecture. Lots of concrete, which you'll see in these photographs that I have for you here, and lots of concrete. Lots of concrete. But also, as we see here in the Wiki Penguins, they tell us that it combines modern styles with fine craftsmanship and rich materials, represents luxury, glamour, exuberance, and faith in social and technological progress. Now, that sounds like a new world order to me. And that's part of my theory. I think this Art Deco, it's great. It's great stuff. Great stuff comes out of the small, short period, Art Deco period, 1920 to like 1940s, when it really was shining. And there's a lot of skill gone into this stuff. A lot of skill, knowledge, clear knowledge from the past of how to do things like they did in the past, and just experience. Whoever was responsible for this Art Deco period and all of its workings had some knowledge. That's my theory. I think that this could possibly be knowledge passed on from after a recent event that just happened. And this is the refacading. The Art Deco period was the refacading of many buildings in this entire world. All of it includes all of this stuff. They changed everything up, but during this period, it seems that everything was of extremely high quality. And that's what they say here. They tell us fine craftsmanship, rich materials. Yes, the highest of quality materials. But you also find things that are quite offensive, like crudeness, crude, offensive things that are meant to mock us. And in the architecture, there's a lot of phony architecture as well gone into this Art Deco period, and it's interesting. So let's move on. They have some interesting photographs here that I want to start with on the Wiki Penguins, just to give some examples, and then I'll get into these 35 photographs of the buildings all around the known realm. We have here, look at the furniture. Now, you may say it looks boring and bland, but take a look here. That's fine wood. I know what fine wood is. This is fine wood. And you see here, oops, excuse me, it's shining like glass. It's shining like glass. Beautiful wood here, great woodwork, but we don't see that quality. We don't see that beauty that you find in the old world stuff, but we see the same knowledge here of how to do things in the same type of way, with the same quality and the same craftsmanship that we find in the old world, just not decked out. Just not decked out. It's been done. Now, what I think it is that it's inverted. My theory is, excuse me, I'm getting all over the place here. My theory is that they came here, that there was an event caused by who knows what. We have biblical prophecies. We have all different sorts of ideas coming to the table here. But after this event, survivors returned. And my idea is that these survivors may have came back with the knowledge that they had in the past because they're coming from the old world, and then they inverted everything and came back and refacaded everything and changed everything up, inverted it all on purpose to drain energy. That's the key point here. We know that brutalist architecture drains energy, correct? It does. So does Art Deco, in my opinion, and I have some examples of that. You see here, a lot of these Art Deco buildings are just refacaded old world structures, which likely were not built in the time periods they say they were. But the refacading I can buy was done in the 20s, 30s, 40s, but I'm almost certain it was. But it was done with skill, knowledge that came from the old world, but they're just using it differently. Because look at here. Clearly, we have the skill still and the knowledge of how to do things, crazy, amazing things here with the materials, right? But does he look friendly? Who's this fella? Does he look friendly? Not one bit, eh? You know, not one bit, eh? No. And this is Art Deco. We're still in Art Deco here, Wiggy Penguins. And we move on. We get crudeness. They still have the ability to carve out amazing things and murals and stuff. And we knew how the architecture was built. We knew how to do this still, and we're doing it. But these are the refacadings. A lot of these are refacaded buildings, refacaded in Art Deco. And the Art Deco artwork and such and all of this stuff. See, asymmetrical shapes. Never would this come out of the old world. Something asymmetrical and ugly like this. But we have fine materials here on this light. And that's what you see. You see the ability that they had in the old world not being used to its height, not being used to its greatest potential. But we still have the knowledge here of how they did things because these folks, I think, or the knowledge at least, that came in this Art Deco period came from those survivors who came back after a catastrophe with the knowledge, with a new world order, a new agenda. So moving on here, we have a broken neck here. We have a broken neck here, right here. Our neck's broken. It's ugly, crude mockeries of murals and artwork. I think it's to mock us. It's to drain energy, especially these buildings are energy drained. They look like prisons. That's the common theme with brutalist architecture, which brutalist came out of this. Okay, it came out of this. And we're gonna move on here. We still have, this is nice. I like the parrot. Okay, I like the parrot. This is nice. We still have the ability to do amazing woodwork, to work wood like nobody's business here. But we're not quite doing it the way that we would see in the old world, where the legs would be decked out. These would be actual like lion's legs and all that craziness that we see coming out of the old world. I don't know who those folks' names were. I don't think any of us really know. We have ideas. There are many different groups, but they're all just part of the old world. But we still had the ability to do incredible things. We had the knowledge, but we're doing it in a modernized, energy draining type of way with these crude, bland, boring statues and blandness, boringness. Look at this. I've made ashtrays. Okay, I've made ashtrays in my first and second grade, third grade art class in elementary school. That looked better than that. That looked better than that. And I still have those bad boys around too. I don't know why we made so many ashtrays, but we did, and I have them. I'm looking at one right now, and it's looking a lot better than this piece. I'll tell you that much. It's looking a lot better than that. Look at that. Art Deco. And we find things that are not very lifelike, but we still have the knowledge of what they look like, eh? Look at this beauty here. But it's not as lifelike. It's not as beautiful as the arts and the artworks that we see coming out of the old world. But we still knew what was going on here, eh? But we're not as life. This is not nearly as it's very cartoonish, very cartoonish here. That's not her boob. This is a baby. So this is something else. This is not milk. This is a baby. This is gross. And we have skill here. Look at the angry fella here. Does he look friendly? Well, he's smiling. Okay, he's smiling. But he don't look friendly to me. I don't know. He might be. Okay, anywho, you get the idea here. We get these creepy folks, Phoenix bird up here, two-headed eagle, and we have all this decked out work on the ceiling, and that's skill. That's skill and knowledge. Now, whether this was done in the old world or not, which I think it may have actually been done in the time periods they say, 1929, I can believe that in the Art Deco period. But this was done with the same knowledge that they had in the past of how to do things. But they're not using that knowledge to its highest degree. They're using it in an inverted, dark kind of way with a new agenda at mind. That's what I see. But we still have the skill. We still have the skill. We still have the skill. That's a nice gate. But it's ugly. You see what I'm talking about? It's asymmetrical. But it's still skilled work here. We don't make gates like this today anymore. So we still have the knowledge, but we're using it differently in this Art Deco period, is what I'm getting at. That's my theory, that survivors came back who are not so friendly. Now we know that now Voldemort, let's take Lord Voldemort out of Harry Potter. Now he did great things, right? He did great things with that wand, Harry. But not all great things are good, eh? And that's what I'm saying here with Art Deco. We have stuff that's very plain but resembles things out of the old world. This is great craftsmanship, great woodwork here, but we're missing, but this is a crude statue, but we're missing all of the decked out flowers and fruit hanging off of everything and all the beauty. It's just plain, boring, but it's shining like glass still. This wood is shining like glass. It's beautiful, but it's not old world. This is not decked out like we would see in the old world. We got like swans and flamingos here. It's gross. We got a couple of crude deer here, and I cannot for the life of me figure out what the hell this is up here. Because I don't think it's meant to be known. I think this is just, it's meant to be unrecognizable, inverted, and weird. But we still have the ability to either pour or cut geopolymer stones here and polish them like glass. Look at that beautiful tub here, ugly color, but beautiful work. Indeed. Indeed. But these folks are not friendly, eh? They're not friendly. I'm telling you, this is that nice. Look at the zebras. And we have a mountain lion here on his forehead, and a leopard here, and a bear. That's nice. Okay, that's nice. Eh? You know what I mean? That's nice. You killed 10 animals, and you got them lying on your floor and upside down. Give me a break. These folks ain't friendly, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm screwing around here. But let's move on here. We got some images of the architecture here, and I'll get into some 35 photographs here around the world. But let's take a look here at the Wiki Penguins. We see incredible skill with these facades. These are likely just facaded old buildings. If they happen to have been built, they were built using the same knowledge, because the buildings are still incredible, but they're bland, boring, and the statues are crude, but it's still incredibly skilled in this time period, which I can buy that they refacaded these buildings in this time period with the knowledge that came out of the old world, just being inverted, just being inverted. And look at New York skyline. We have air balloons. New York skyline, 1931 to 33. They don't even know when. We have air balloons. We have sky. What do you call those? Airships. And then look at this. We have creepiness, but it's skilled. It's ugly, but it's skilled, eh? You know, it's skilled, but it's ugly, eh? We got bricks and we got concrete tiles everywhere. Get used to it, because you're about to see 35 images of pretty much just that. Lots of concrete on these buildings, but incredible work though, and skill, and gone into this knowledge, experience. But we have no ornamentations, no flowers and fruit flying everywhere. But we do have a couple of M's which have been put in here, an M here, an M here. I'm guessing that's from Medusa here with all the cobras coming out of her head. Medusa with all these cobras. I'm guessing that's what the M's are all about. That would be my guess, because this is ugly. But it's incredibly skilled. And that is still good work. Whether it's just a facade or not, just been refacaded or not, they had skill of how to do this stuff. That's what I'm getting at here. So let's get right into my 35 photographs. So we're starting here in Buffalo City Hall, said to be one of the most costly Art Deco buildings to ever be constructed. 1931. Buffalo. I'm guessing that this could possibly be, unless built with the same knowledge that they had in the old world, because this looks like an old world structure that's been refacaded in Art Deco with these war murals and everything, and all this concrete and these long vertical spanning bars that go across the entire buildings lengthwise, and they give a prison, a jail, prison-like feel to these buildings. This is aggressive. This is an aggressive building. But you put a couple of domes here, a dome here, and a spire up there. That's a beautiful building, baby. Strip all this concrete down, expose the bricks. Be a beautiful building, baby. Hard to say if that was refacaded or if it was just built using that knowledge in an inverted way. Not sure. 1970 Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Brussels, Belgium. Very plain. All the ornamentations either been stripped off of this. They say it was completed in 1970. I'm guessing that maybe just the Art Deco facades were done in 1970 because we have a yard raised stairs going up. Usually that means that we have windows in the ground where they ought not belong. Eh? Moving on. And we know Brussels has far greater architecture um, going on all around this city. All around this city, there is far more impressive buildings than this. Yet this is still quite impressive, but we don't have a cymatic window here. This would be like a magnetron window or like a cymatic window, but it's been refacaded with this concrete here, which looks quite weathered from 1970. But anywho, no no statues up here or anything, nothing beautiful. It's just been refacaded and dumbed down. That's my opinion. Eden Teatro, Lisbon, Portugal. This was a large scale theater. We got more of these creepy fellas here on these fake pillars. They're not real structural pillars, and they don't seem to be serving as tech. They seem to be just facaded on top of these tiles here on this ugly building, which was since converted to an apartment hotel. Said to have been built in 1931. The Kavanaugh, Buenos Aires, Argentina. 1934. Now get this. We got trees growing on top up here. We got trees growing on top up here. Give me a break. We got trees growing up here. Possibly a tree over there on that building. But this is skill. Look at how it gets thinner and thinner on each section here. And we have prismatic shapes, which is common in Art Deco styles with prismatic shapes and geometric shapes. But we have these long, vertical spanning concrete bars giving this prison jail-like effect, this energy draining effect to these buildings. And when you walk in these buildings, they will drain your energy because that's what they did here with its field. They have inverted the field of this building, or it was built inverted. I don't know. 1934, hard for me to believe that because they say that this building here had state-of-the-art plumbing systems as well as central air conditioning. In Argentina, 1934. Give me a break. Just come on. 1873. This now we've just jumped outside of the Art Deco period. But you see here, this has been facaded in the 1930s, they say. And you see this prison bar windows here, which you can't see out of, like a prison. But we still have the beauty, probably somewhat similar to the original windows up here. And we had urban elevators in 1873. So my guess would be that this was not constructed in 1873. This is an old world elevator, urban elevator, which has been refacaded in the 1930s in the Art Deco prison-like style with this concrete. This is the Bacardi building, Havana, Cuba. It was said to have originally been a neo-Renaissance building, so this to me sounds like it's been refacaded with these crude tiles here. Interesting windows, but you can't see out of the windows. No bell up there, I don't think. I don't know. But we have Lady Liberty's torch up there, so give me a break. We know whose torch that is. We just saw her on top of the building on the Wiki Penguins and looking like phony Antiquitech up here. Non-functional, phony Antiquitech. We got beautiful soffits and fascia work up here, but not looking quite as ornate as what you find in the old world stuff. It looks more like phony soffits, not actual serving as tech, like it seems to have been in the past, but a phony version of it on this facade. Still great work though, eh? This is still skilled, is it not? It's very skilled work here, very skilled. You see the bricks here. It was a brick building, so yeah. And that's Havana, Cuba. Now we're in Tokyo, Tokyo, Japan, and this is the National Diet Building, 1936. We have a terraced dome. We have fake pillars. They're not Corinthian pillars. They're not Ionic pillars. Not the old world pillars that seem to have been serving a technological function. These are just phonies. They're phonies. It's a concrete phony facade because we have windows in the ground where they ought not belong. Windows in the ground where they ought not belong. See? Hey, see? So I'm guessing this was refacaded in 1936. It still sports the ornate stained glass, though, all over this building, up here and everything. There's said to be ornate stained glass, which is probably original or somewhat similar to what was original. This building is a joke. Listen to this story. LA City Hall, 1928. Now, here's the joke. I think it's a joke. They tell us that, you see all this concrete here on this facade? Likely was already hard to say. Maybe they did. Maybe they built it in 1928. If they did, they built it with the same knowledge, with occulted knowledge, which they've occulted since returning, or it was just refacaded with that same knowledge. But they say that this concrete here, you see all this concrete. Now, what they tell us is that good old folk back in the 1920s went out with their shovels and pails to every one of the 58 counties and shoveled in sand into their little pails, okay? And they mixed it all together and they made the concrete for this building of sand, from sand of every one of the 58 counties in California. You buy that? I don't buy that. The sand ain't this color in California. The sand is not this color in California. Give me a break. Give me a break. These ridiculous stories. And we have the Marine Building here. This was known to be the tallest skyscraper in the British Empire for some time. I don't think it is anymore. I know it's not anymore. This building's bigger than it right now. But we have here 1920s. They say that they don't know when. That's kind of strange. And it seems to me that this is an old burnt brick building. It looks burnt. The bricks are brown. They're not red like they're supposed to be. And we have facades here that seem to be Art Deco. And these are decked out with turtles, crabs, scallops, seaweed, and sea snails. A bunch of creepy crawlies, gross critters. Well, excuse me. I'm sorry if you like any of those creatures, but weird stuff to put on a building. But they call it the Marine Building because of all those creepy crawlies that they put all over this concrete facades up here, which I think is what the Art Deco is on this building. I don't think this is an Art Deco building. I think it's just been refacaded, possibly a new dome, ugly dome. It's dirty. That right there is the Chrysler building in Detroit. I think it is. Sorry if I think it's Detroit. I don't think it's Chicago. Detroit. And this is the tallest brick building in the world, over 1,000 feet tall. The tallest brick building in the world, and it has a terraced crown. That's incredible skill right there, baby. A terraced crown spire. Terraced crown. I have a close up of that because there's some phoenix turkeys up here hanging out, ready to take off. Tallest brick building in the world. So they say. I believe it. So this is the Palais de Chalut. I don't know what that means, but that's what it says. 1878 in France, obviously. 1937, though, it was said to have been refacaded. 1937, it was refacaded, but built 1878. So I'm going to guess that this incredible structure and all this earthenwork going on here, this was not built in 1878, and this is an old world structure, which was refacaded in 1937. Look how deep it goes here, below, up here, from like this level all the way down here. That's a milk truck. Give me a break. Look how small it looks. And we got a tilt-a-whirl over here. And we got beautiful fountains, tilt-a-whirls, and the bus looking like an ant. Enormous. But it's been refacaded in a very plain, there's no statues, no flowers, no fruit, no beauty here. Looted spires and domes, likely from here, 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 and here. I'm sure there were domes, beautiful domes, on each one of those sections of the building, which seem to have been looted. And then this concrete Art Deco facade and fake pillars, which are not actual real, Corinthian or Ionic pillars like you see in the old world. Empire State, yes, that's an Art Deco building. 1931, they say. I'm not certain about this, but I think I've seen images of this building being here in earlier times in 1931. I don't know now. Okay, I don't know. but I think I have. But we see these spanning vertical concrete bars, like a prison, like a jail, all the way down the building. That's Art Deco. This is all concrete facade, and I think it's a brick building. Well, it's got to be. Give me a break. Of course, it's a brick building. What am I saying? Delano Hotel, Miami, 1947. That's ugly. We have prismatic and geometric shapes here that are asymmetrical, and a phony tower. This tower was never meant to have a dome or a spire because it's not serving as tech. It's serving to be a phony tower because they knew what these towers were, and they're putting one up here for another purpose, possibly in part to mock those who know, and for whatever else. Maybe they have some chimney vents going up here, but it's not actually serving as tech like these were before in the past when they had technological domes and steeple spires on these towers, which they all had. If there was a tower in the old world, it was to serve for a tower, a dome or a spire. It was part of the technology. You're not going to fire off an engine without its spark plug. Give me a break. When you take a spire or a dome off of its tower, you're not going to be able to fire this building off, baby. That's what I'm saying. It's that simple. It's that simple. New York again. So now we're at the Rockefeller Center, and we got the same thing. These concrete, vertical spanning bars, looking like a prison, looking very energy draining. I would not want to step in that building. And it's all concrete tiles. But don't be fooled. They did pattern these tiles. They had skill. It's ugly, but they had skill and they knew how to build these folks. These were not people that were new to this stuff. They've been around the block, baby. Whoever did this Art Deco stuff in this period, they've been around the block. That's all I can say. The Eastern Columbia Building, LA, said to be the jewel of downtown, 1930. And yeah, give me a break. Yeah, that's the jewel of downtown, eh? It looks like we're missing a dome up here. Strange material though. Interesting material. They had skill. They knew they had knowledge. Look at this material. I've never even seen that before. What is that? What color is it even? Like every color of the rainbow almost. But we got like creepy snake tails sticking out everywhere and all that stuff. But it's still extremely skilled and high quality work here. Sorry about the graininess, but you can see all these details. Incredible. Ugly clock, but we got some skilled detail. Yes, it's great. It's great work. I just don't think it's good work. Not for the greater good. Is what I mean. So here we have, this is the House of Hungarian Art Museum. It was originally a private home of someone. They didn't mention who. And that's one hell of a creepy chandelier right there if I've ever seen one. It's like a creature. And we have all this Freemasonry tiles going on in here with all this Art Deco concrete. But still, we had the knowledge of how this stuff worked. It may not be functional, but we knew how it worked and we knew how to do it and build it. It's just, look at this skill here. Either this is coming out of the old world, or if this was built in the time they say it was, which is 1903, it was built using that same skill and knowledge and experience from old worlders that likely survived and came back with a new agenda. Here's the Chrysler Building again in Detroit, the tallest brick building in the world, this terraced crown. Here it is up close, this terraced crown. Imagine how difficult that would have been. They pulled it off. Great work, great work. I'd say this is pretty nice. I like it, but these Phoenix turkeys here kind of throw me off for a loop here. These Phoenix turkeys on everything, but and these patterns here. But great work. That's skill. That's skill, baby. Chicago. If you've seen images of Chicago with that huge light that's strobing across the city, that huge light, okay? This is that building, the Palmolive building. I think Palmolive is a dish soap. Said to have been built in 1929. And these cars, let me get to these cars quick. These Art Deco period cars, and now cars can be considered Art Deco, and these are Art Deco period cars. If these cars were maintained properly and well kept, they still run today. They'll still fire up today and drive straight down the road. They may need some new tires, but if you kept these in good condition, These bad boys still run today, even the Model A's and the Model T's, because they were high technology and they were built with knowledge coming out of the old world. Yes, the old world seemed to have driven cars as well, probably more steam-based cars, likely some of these as well. But when these folks came back after said disaster, um, I think that they inverted things and used the knowledge they had from the past to do things a little differently. Introduce gasoline and diesel engines in the vehicles and get them moving faster and get the roadkill counts up higher. Take out the rails. A world that rides the rails, a world that flies airships, a world that sails the seas and drives slower moving steam vehicles like cars. How much roadkill? They must have had roadkill down to a bare minimum. You know what I mean? Today we're mowing them things down like nothing. Not me. But today people are just, relentless out there. So this is also a private home of a millionaire, the palace, the Mediterranean Palace. It's been since converted to a casino. Crude artwork up here. This is not old world um, beauty and quality here, but it still seems to exhibit the same knowledge to me. We still knew how to do this stuff, but these are phony pillars here. They're not real pillars. They're not real Corinthians with all the tech and all that stuff. These seem to be just phony, straight pillars going straight through and through. They're likely structural, but they're just phony. They're not serving as tech as well. You see what I'm saying? And that was, excuse me, what year was that? That was the year 1929. And this building here, the Palmolive building, 1929. This building was, so I think dish soap, Palmolive is a dish soap. This building was dirtied up in the 1960s, 1965, when Playboy bought the building, baby. When Playboy bought the building and dirtied it up. So it went from clean dish soap to Playboy in 1965. This building here, Bryant Park Hotel, 1924, very boring prismatic shapes here, just geometric shapes. Nothing fancy here. No flowers and fruit flying everywhere, but we have black bricks and gold bricks here. And what they say is that the black bricks symbolize coal, the gold bricks symbolize fire. And that's what they say about that building. Bryant Park Hotel, Breakwater in South Beach, Miami, 1939. Fake balustrade railing. I think balustrade railings served as technology. I'm certain they did. You find them on the tops of buildings, burnt out, smoked, cooked out on many old world structures, the real balustrade railings. You find them all down the streets. You find them um, on balconies, and they seem to be serving as tech in the old world. This seems to be a phony version. They knew what balustrades were, and they put up a phony one here in this Art Deco architecture style. Again, this is another prison-like building, looking very aggressive. We got real old world structures on either side though, with the real deal here. Check out this. We got real Corinthian pillars here, the whole bit, the real deal here. And here as well, real pillars, real ones here, ionic pillars here, and a beautiful building here. This is the Chicago Board of Trade building, said to have been built 1930s. Looking like, and we have these long spanning vertical lines all the way down the building to give that aggressive prison-like feel with that concrete. China, Shanghai. This is a boutique hotel, 1934, and we have very plain, boring ornamentation. Not beautiful, incredible, jaw-dropping ornamentation, just junk. We got arrows and Freemasonry bits going on here. I know there's a compass and a square and all that. And we have arrows pointing at the ground. These arrows on the balconies pointing at the ground as if you belong in the dirt. They do the same thing in their photographs, these controllers and such, these so-called controllers. They're always pointing at the dirt, as if you belong down there. No knowledge for you, you belong in the dirt. Point at the ground. The old world would never have an arrow or anything like this pointing at the ground, in my opinion. They have stuff pointing at the sky. Their artwork, if they're depicting themselves or pointing at the sky, this is something that's different. This is different. It's skilled. It's skilled. There's knowledge here, but we're doing it in an inverted, upside down kind of way. That's my opinion. That's my theory. NBC building, 1989. I think it's Chicago. And I included this because it says that this is one of the best reproductions of Art Deco ever done in recent times. Why is it such a big deal in 1989 to be reproducing something that's not that far, gone, and that we are supposed to have moved on from and be advancing from, and that we're supposed to be at doing better now? Why was it a big deal in '89 to reproduce Art Deco, these long spanning jail-like, prison-like bars going all the way up and down the building, all concrete? Beats me. 1912 Brooklyn Library. This was a beautiful brick building, refacaded in 1930. It was a Beaux Arts um, style architecture originally. I do not buy that they built it in 1912 with this perfect curvature here on the brickwork. That's extremely difficult. But it was refacaded in Art Deco in 1930, Brooklyn Public Library. And these ugly, and there seem to have been giant doors for giants here, which have been dumbed down with all this crude artwork here, and crude artwork on these fake pillars. They're not real pillars, they're fake. See? They're just rods. And that's what I see with Art Deco. It's draining. And don't forget, this gave birth to what we know today as brutalist architecture. And this is quite brutal to me. Look how uneven and unmatched and mixed matched these tiles are and how crappy this looks. That's offensive to me. Cincinnati Union Terminal Station. They say it was constructed or finished in March 1933. 333. 333. And that's what they tell us. And I think that when they use those numbers, they have inverted those numbers and their meanings. They've inverted that. So when they're using that stuff, it means something's off here. And they're likely lying. I think this was just refacaded. But if it were to have been built in 1933, it was using the same knowledge they had in the old world, which has been occulted since. But we have ugly concrete tiles everywhere and crude artwork with these Anunnaki wings here and this crude artwork and this ugly clock. Ugly clock, but then beautiful cars though. Beautiful cars. I love the cars. I'm a sucker to those cars. So we have the Fine Arts Palace, Mexico City, neoclassical building. 1904 to 1934 is how long it took to renovate the inside in Art Deco. They completely remodeled the inside from neoclassical, took all the nice stuff into an Art Deco style. And it took them 30 years just to do the inside. This was already a building that was here already. We see here we have all the correct ornamentation and beauty that you find in the old world structures and all that stuff. But it's been refacaded here as well, it looks like. But we still find all this in these beautiful domes. But this was in the Phoenix Turkeys. But it's been refacaded somewhat, and on the inside completely redone in Art Deco. But it was already an existing building, in my opinion. And Pantages Theater, 1930. We clearly here, well, we have more Freemasonry going on here. Blood red felt chairs, nice chairs, but we have this blood red feel, and it's very dark in here, very gothicy, dark, kind of creepy. But we still have the skill and knowledge of how to do this stuff incredibly, right? If this was to actually been built in 1930, this was built by someone who had that same knowledge of how they did it in the past. Because look at what they achieved. Hey, so if they did actually do this, when they say they did, those folks knew what they were doing. And they were doing it in a new world order, dark kind of way, in my opinion. I said we would reach every landmass, so now let's go to Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, the Mutual Building. And we have probably some war murals here. I see some wooden carts on these murals. And we have prismatic designs and geometric designs here on these windows and this ventilation system, which would take extreme skill and experience to know how this works with this strange ventilation system going on here with these windows. That would take a lot of time and effort and skill, resources, and just experience is the main thing. This would have to be experience to know how this would work and to pull it off. Cinema Impero, 1937, Eritrea, Africa, which is a Italian colony. It was an Italian colony. This is an Art Deco building. Does it look like an Italian built structure whatsoever? See these polka dots here? Does it look friendly? Does it look inviting? Do you want to walk in there? Would you want to walk in there? Does it look inviting to you with this number 9 here? Does it look inviting here to you? Not so much, eh? It doesn't really represent or resemble anything from Italy either to me. It does represent our Art Deco quite well with this concrete prison-like feel. And they have since put the I and the M up. Okay, so it's not that creepy anymore, but it's still looking quite creepy to me. I saw some images of it after they've repaired it a bit. Moscow, Myaskovskaya Metro Station in the Soviet Union. This was built during the Soviet era, and it looks like we have something here that resembles maybe a map of the center of the world. We have a couple of figures here reaching for something in the middle, and some stuff all around them, looking like they are representing land masses, possibly the land masses, and possibly Mount Meru in the center. The magnetic mountain. Jade Dreamers has showed us a Capitol building where the dome originally had a map, a center of the world map, just like this seems to be representing as well. Hoover Building, also 1933, fake tower up here, and we have no functioning tech for it because it's not a real tower that was to serve as tech with a spire and a dome and all that. It's just phony. Looks like anything. Looks like any Art Deco building you would find in Florida or in California or anywhere really. Interesting, 1933. Lots of skill and knowledge went into this of how to do this and these nice curves and all this. It looks interesting. I still think it's kind of ugly, but that's just me. Melbourne, Australia. This building is a neo-Romanesque, Moorish, and Art Deco building. And we got all types of Art Deco refacading going on here with this thick concrete and all this thick fake columns and all this concrete everywhere. And this is kind of looking a bit dark with this black concrete tiles everywhere. But they say it's Moorish, neo-Romanesque, as well as Art Deco, all in one here. And it gives me a creepy vibe. And we'll finish here at the Supreme Court of Canada, Ottawa. Now, they say this building was built in 1875, but was refacaded in Art Deco. But really, it's really been refacaded in brutalist architecture. This is what most brutalist buildings would look like. But I think because of the age of the building, which I'm guessing this is not built in 1875, because this is exactly the same style of all the buildings in Ottawa, including that huge hotel. That incredible hotel has the same roofs on it. These seem to be new, but it had the same type of roof. And this is what the buildings look like in Ottawa. So I'm guessing that this is an old world structure, been refacaded in a brutalist way. But what they say here is that they call this an Art Deco building because in the 30s they came along and put these fancy lamps right here and here, okay, and some marble steps inside and some marble statues and such inside. So that makes this an Art Deco building because of that, these light renovations here. Even though it's been quite brutalized, this is brutalist architecture, but they call it Art Deco still because of these. They say because of these lamps and the marble inside. And I thought that was a joke. Love you all. Take care.